When you set to make your plan to head out to the lease, what's the kind of checklist of things that you're like, all right, I need to accomplish X, Y, Z when I'm heading out there? Like, what's the process that you go through to make sure you maximize your time while you're at the farm? This segment of DoD TV is brought to you by Leupold, American to the core.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Drury Outdoors 100% Wild podcast. This is episode number 219.
Hey, you have an accent there.
I did. After our Yee podcast we did last week, I'm embracing it.
I enjoyed that podcast.
That was awesome.
It was fun.
Yeah. And I've been listening to Yee radio for the past week, and it's solid. Like, the playlist is, and there's some newer country in there that I probably wouldn't have been exposed to had I not downloaded, and it's not terrible. It's a pretty strong endorsement for someone that doesn't, like, their playlist doesn't go past 1999.
Yes, that is, Tim. You said it all there.
Well, what can I say?
Said a lot about yourself.
A lot of good things, no doubt.
Yes. We should say you're Tim Chelsvik.
And you are Matt Drury, of course.
This is powered by DeerCast.
Of course.
All right.
And we should say that we have a new way for people to engage with us if they choose.
I don't even know it. Let's hear it.
The Facebook group.
Oh, that's right. I did know it.
You could be a part of, and when I say you, Matt, I don't mean you. I mean collectively, the listeners.
The bigger you.
They could be a part of the 100% Wild podcast crew. And it's easy, and it doesn't cost anything. You just go
like
to
the podcast.
100% Wild podcast crew and click join. And there's some membership questions in there. We want to make sure we don't let all the riffraff in. Like, it's got to be legit listeners.
If you're listening to this now, I just want you to come into that Facebook group and troll Tim. And
we don't really need that. We've got a couple guys that seem to have taken up that mantle. So we need some people that, are reasonable, don't like you. They're going to add some. Well, yeah.
So in general, it's going to be fun. We're going to shoot the breeze in there. I don't want to get my hand slapped by any moms out there listening.
Well, already I put a video in there Sunday night, and it was filmed here on the set. And it was like, hey,
working on a Sunday, huh?
I'm devoted to my craft. I said, give us some ideas, because we do want ideas for topics and guests and stuff like that. But then there's a little Easter egg at the end.
I saw it.
So if you haven't yet seen, go to the 100% Wild podcast crew Facebook page.
Speaking of Yee, you went on there and left a video
on my tractor.
On your tractor. Yes. With a lawnmower and your bibs.
It's a tractor. I mean,
I guess it's more of a tractor than any tractor I got.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a big boy.
And your Yee bibs. So I thought that was funny, and I thought it was funny that you had Yee bibs.
Yeah, well, what can I say? I've owned them for a lot. I've been Yee for a long time.
And I don't think it's a stretch. Your shirt was off, which, I saw one of our buddies, Randy, making fun of you in a post because your shirt was actually on.
I don't like Randy. I don't like that guy at all.
He had a point.
Right.
You lose a couple pounds.
All of a sudden, it's Mr. Shirt-Free Wednesday.
Now, I think if you're going to leave your shirt off like through deer season into the winter, that's when I know if you're a real man.
I'm going to take the camo grease paint and just paint a shirt on for me.
Who needs camo? I got it.
Is it chilly out here?
Nipples say yes.
How about we? So we've got Rick Malik on. We'll have Rick on in just a minute here. We've got some shout outs to get through. But if folks are interested in, like, if you don't live next to your property, if you've got some traveling to do, like if you're remotely kind of handling affairs on your property, Rick is the guy, because he doesn't live right next door. And
the good part about Rick's been with us a long, long time. He's one of the longest Drury Outdoors team members. He's been through the gamut of the Dream Season reality show, onto the Bow Madness cast. And so it'll be fun. Rick's a very sharp guy, and he's been doing it well for a long time. Great producer. So I look forward to jumping into that.
And we should also say this is his podcast premiere.
Yeah. Like,
he knows more about hunting than
podcasts.
They're probably you and I combined.
Well, that's not hard.
and so I'm excited that this is his debut into podcasting.
All right, so let's get into these shout outs. K-Bear on the Apple podcast, he said, "This is not a podcast. It is nothing more than a commercial for 30 minutes.
Well, I should also mention shout outs are brought to you by Land O'Lakes Margarine.
So which podcast is he referring to? It could be any number.
It's unknowable.
When I first started this podcast with Mark Kenyon years ago, he did this thing. He sent out like a survey to his audience because he had a big audience to begin with,
which we also have
now. And so he sent out this survey, and a guy just ripped me for several things, but one of the guys ripping me was about how I couldn't say just trail camera. It was always Reconyx camera. I couldn't say just a box blind. I said my muddy box blind. There was always those things. And it's like, hell, I don't even know I'm talking that way. Like that's just
how you've grown up.
Literally have been filming. I've never hunted off camera. So sorry, guys. Blood. Yeah. Sorry if it's a 30-second commercial. Get the hell out of here.
Well, some of our shows are more like if we have a CEO on from a company, we're probably going to talk about whatever
their product
they're doing. Yeah. But not every show is like that. And hopefully they're organic conversations, but it's interesting to hear that.
So K-Bear, you snuck it in there, but I wouldn't have been so kind with you if I would have picked the shout outs for today.
You stinker. Excuse my language. I shouldn't.
Yes.
Can we just cut that out? I
need a bleep sound effect on.
Yeah, right. We do. Mark LeCount on DeerCast. Mark is a super podcaster. Another podcast straddling the line of greatness. This is in regards to the Yee Show.
That's what I thought.
Great stuff, Matt and Tim. We're loving it, and God bless the Yee. Thumbs up, thumbs up.
Well, thank you, Mark, and K-Bear. You can suck it.
Yeah, Mark is gonna fight K-Bear.
That would be great.
Street fight.
On DeerCast.
It'll be televised. Speaking of on DeerCast, we've got some news articles that have gone up. One is that there's New Jersey hunters have fought back against some legislation that sought to outlaw wildlife competitions. Nice job, New Jersey hunters. And that's so important because if you set case precedent in one state, it's just it's a domino effect in other states.
And this is kind of what the guys over at Blood Origins, they are champions of this type of fight, quote unquote, back, because
advocacy.
We don't do a great job of helping ourselves. And literally every industry that's against us has tons of money behind it. And we just don't really have that. So it's nice to get a little win here and there.
Yeah, because not only was it like hunting competitions like Quest Hunt Co., but also like your local VFW hosting a squirrel competition in the fall.
And there's, in the Midwest, in the South, there's a lot of, dog competition, like, for coyotes or coons or,
predator hunts.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's important that these are traditions that can live on and we got to fight for them.
Yep. 100%. And then also a little bit of hope for the fight against CWD. And there's some lab work that's shown that there's a protein that can potentially block the transmission of CWD. The question really becomes, is the treatment, like the deployment of the cure, feasible, ethical, all those.
That's the tough part. And I mean, the guys over at Analogics, I mean, they told us years ago when we teamed up with them that there could be potentially something that you could fight this.
Is this another ad of yours?
Yes, it is. Jeez. It's weird because only people I know are industry partners.
That's weird.
So anyways, there's the hard part is, like you said, administrating these things. It's like you literally almost have to inject every deer.
Yeah, in concept in the lab, it shows promise. Yeah. But so that's an interesting one. Go check it out on DeerCast for a little more details. And now the real reason people tuned in.
And if Rick, you're still there, I'm sorry it took so long to have you on, but welcome
What's up, guys?
To your first podcast.
Yeah, how do I enter my premiere podcast with the Yee? I don't know how to follow that, Tim, but great to be here. Great to see you guys.
Well, here's how you follow it. Let me see. Where's the sound effect? Yeah. That's all you got to do. there you go.
And Rick is on the road traveling for work. I would love to hear him screaming yee in the hotel. And people wonder what's happening in that room right now. But I'm also referring to you as Papa Wheelie because you are Mr. E-Bike. Like Rick is using his e-bike all over his property.
He's the perfect case in point of a guy that needs one because he's got big rolling hills. He's old and he needs.
I was waiting for that part. Yeah, it's been awesome. I've bugged Matt forever about us partnering up with an e-bike sponsor, and was so excited to hear when we partner with Road Ridge, because you're right. My property's in Eastern Ohio. It's hour and 20 minutes away from West Pennsylvania, and pressure's tough over in that area. So getting that bike was a game changer.
So you used it for turkey season too, right?
I did. Yeah, I used it quite a bit this spring, and man, I can't imagine not having that. I mean, to be able to just, haul all your gear in, and we've got camera gear as well, and to just be able to get in silently and set up anywhere I wanted, move quickly. I mean, it was truly a game changer.
They're just a lot of fun too.
Yeah. They're actually pretty fast. Mm-hmm. So be ready for that part.
Yep. You can hurt yourself if
you can. Mark has done it.
We need the video of that.
Mark's not an e-bike master. He's a Padawan. Still learning.
To see like the Tacticam footage, it was mounted on his bike. And hear the bleeping.
Yes. Mark fell over.
So how do you intend to use that for maybe your scouting, your prep for deer season this summer?
Yeah, well, really kind of already started, obviously getting all the cameras out, super easy to get in, silent, no scent, pop cameras up, check cameras, getting ready to head out later this week with some analogic minerals, and going to be refreshing some mineral sites. So going to run and put a rack on the back of that bike, and it's amazing how much I can carry on that thing and not pedal. Yeah. So not that I don't need the pedal, but and I do. But, just running cameras and minerals at this point, and being able to get in and check, spots and areas to maybe get into some new sets. Mm-hmm. I take it over every single time I go.
So when you plan a trip like this, you're like, how far away is your house from your lease?
It's about an hour and 20 minutes. Okay.
So it's not horrible, but it's enough of a distance that you're not going every day. You're not going every weekend. Like you're trying to, and I know, just with work and family, you're a busy guy anyway. So backtracking here, when you set to make your plan to head out to the lease, what's the kind of checklist of things that you're like, all right, I need to accomplish X, Y, Z when I'm heading out there? Like, what's the process that you go through to make sure you maximize your time while you're at the farm?
Yeah. So I shared the lease with two other guys, right? One of them now lives in Georgia. So really just two of us are local, so we do a lot of planning together, and, it's about 500 acres, but just the way it lays, first of all, it's all timber. Mm-hmm. There's just a couple small food plots that we have on it. So that creates a big challenge in and of itself. Not just how you hunt it, but access, right? I mean, so, we try to plan full days when we're going over there, and really starting very, very early in the year to ensure we're checking stands, pulling stands, putting new stands up. And literally we sit down and have a planning meeting of what we're going to accomplish and how many days we think it's going to take. And we like to get that all done very early, so we're keeping pressure as low as possible. So, we'll pick days like, coming up here later this week. I mean, I've got a pallet of analogics coming, and that's all we're going to do. We're going to run to both sides of our place, and we can supplemental feed in Ohio year round. It's something we do to hold deer, and we don't have the big food plots, so to provide some of the nutrition. So we'll make that a day, and to put in a couple water tanks as well. And then we'll start on stand work. What are we going to pull? What are we going to hang new? We get all that stuff done, blinds early. And we try to be pretty much done, other than, refeeding and running cameras, pretty much from August on. So that's the plan typically. Because it is, it's 3 hours round trip. You got to load up, get over there, do your thing and head back home. And you're right. We got family and jobs. So you have to make those days count.
So when you get into the season, then, I don't know how often you get over to the property, probably not as much as you'd like to, but what style of hunting is it? I'm sure tree stands, you're saying it's timber. I mean, or is it big rolling terrain, big right? Rolling, yeah.
It is, so on really three sides of the property, the boundaries are very, very steep. One side drops down to a big lake. really can only access the property on the west side. So that's one of the biggest challenges, especially when you've got, 3 guys in there hunting, accessing really from one point, even though you spread out quickly. You could easily overpressure that property. That's one of the biggest challenges. So, but typically, I'm in the Midwest too in November. So I roll out of there, but don't get over there as much as I want to be. We just coordinate very closely who's going where and how often we do that.
I love the tools that people use to plan with. Like I've got a Google sheet with my different properties, the objectives I have for them, and the equipment I need. Rick, I'm curious, what kind of planning tools do you use, if maybe it's a notepad or whatever?
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll sit down and, I have a big spreadsheet of where all our sets are, when they were hung, new sets that we want to put up. We meet at the Malik pub, and have a nice planning session. And it's a who and by when, right? Who owns it and by when. And that's key. And then obviously there's investments, right? What investments are we going to make on an annual basis? So we try to plan that right at the end of the season. And Ohio runs all the way to the beginning of February. So you can literally bow hunt from late September to early February. So we just try to do those investment decisions early and divide up those costs, get all that stuff ordered, and then really just a who by when, right? Okay. Because we all can't be there at the same time.
Sure.
So are there, in the surrounding areas, is there any ag, or is it all timber? It's just one giant, area that's full timber?
Good question. This is truly Eastern Ohio. It's Eastern Ohio, literally across the Ohio River, and it's the county we're hunting right there. So there's not a lot of ag. There's some, right? One of the benefits we had is the bordering farm was sold actually to 2 different people, and they've really invested into food plots and grain crops and management. So that's really helped us, from that perspective. But you really need to get a little further west into Ohio to really get into that big ag country, for sure. And, and I'd love to find a lease a little further in as well. But, the further you get in, the more challenges it creates and how often you get there. Because once you drive 3 or 4 hours, you might as well drive to Iowa if you're gone. Right? Sure. So there's no turning around that same day and coming home.
Rick, I'm always interested because a lot of our team members hunt primarily ag or a mix of type of hunting ground, ag and timber. Most of my hunts happen in the timber, and I'm always challenged with scouting because I can't go sit on a gravel road and glass a bean field. It's so much more difficult. How do you handle scouting preseason?
It is a big challenge, Tim, especially when you have that all timber kind of ground. Cell cameras are your friends, right? I mean, we run a ton of them, and trail cameras in general, so we've got our Reconics all over that place. And, we're challenged from cell camera service perspective on a lot of the ground. But, also we've been strategic about where we put our supplemented feeding stations where those cameras will work. It gives us a nice inventory. Because the biggest thing is we want to minimize the amount of time that we're spending back in there, for sure. And, I do a lot of postseason scouting. That road bridge, I mean, I thought I was going to run the tires off of it. And I almost needed to order some skis for it there. Had some interesting rides in the snow. Really just spending a lot of time between February and into turkey season, trying to learn as much as possible. We just try to minimize as much, intrusion that we do, once season rolls around. So trail cameras, those feeding stations, we're trying to use that type of MRI, and just balance how much, we put boots on the ground.
So when you're putting out stands and you're figuring out your approach for what the hunting's going to look like during the season, I mean, are you honing in on pinch points? Or are you trying to find trails? I mean, is there a bedroom, on the property that you're looking for? What are you honing in on to know where you're going to hang your sets at?
Yeah, it's a unique piece of property. One thing is we've got a huge thicket on sort of the western side of it, and it is just a massive bedding area. We stay out of it. We treat it as a sanctuary. We've killed, pretty much all of our really big deer not far from that thicket in the rut. So we can set up on all sides of that. And a unique thing, and Matt, you and I've talked about this in the past, we haven't really shot a lot in the last 4 or 5 years because 4 years ago we were slammed with the EHD massively. And to compound that, the landowners decided to do a select cut timbering that started in October. So, it was just good thing, bad thing, just from a timbering perspective, because long term that really does improve the habitat. But what it did is it changed that property immensely. That thicket got thicker, and we got a lot more of those. We got a lot more access roads. So we had to kind of spend the last few years relearning it. But long term, it's created a lot of secondary growth. So we're hunting a lot on those bedding covers as well. It's got some nice transition areas with big mature pines that transition to hardwoods, and those deer really use that. Now there's a lot of logging roads kind of in those transition zones. So if we set up on those travel corridors, and we do have a couple small food plots that we definitely have blinds and stands set up on. And to your point, just finding those inner funnels has been key. And in those inner funnels of that property is where we killed all of the big deer on it.
Okay. What are the things that end up biting you, like year after year? You never have enough time for, it's never quite the way you want it to be. It just, like, what are the reoccurring themes in your prep process?
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, time is the most valuable asset we have, right? And with work and kids, and we just can't get there as often as we'd like, for sure. And so, I think that, I'd love, if I owned it, first thing I'd get is the bulldozer in there and open that all up. It's really getting the time, to be over there and to do the work you want early enough and frequently enough, and then I think the other biggest challenge, and it's not really a prep thing, but when you got 3 guys hunting a property, as you get into November, late November, regardless of how smart you're hunting it, I mean, that's a lot of pressure, especially as you bring into the factor of, the hunting and the surrounding farms that border it. So, it can become pressured very quickly.
Yeah.
Tim, you seem stressed.
Well, I'm thinking about all the things that I have yet to do and how
it's basically all of them.
Time. Yeah.
Same thing.
This weekend it starts. Like, I'm getting a crew of buddies together, and we're gonna go out and hopefully tackle like at least one property, maybe a second property, and feed the guys and give them some drinks and that too.
Rick, I want to backtrack. Oh, go ahead.
I would just say one other big challenge is, there's logging road structure through it, but to the point I was giving you, it's steep. There's a lot of just steep parts to it. So I'd love to have some big muddy, bull blinds up, and there's just no way to get it in. We don't have any structures there, no equipment other than just basically ATVs. And so it's all manual labor. It's not like we're going to take, our tractor back in there and set up a nice big box blind. So it all has to be done by hand.
Manual.
That's why it's
deer hunting.
That's why his biceps are so big.
Look at his arms. My Lord.
Hey, Rick.
Poor Rick.
I want to backtrack. So, what you've been with us 20 something years, probably.
Yeah, since about 1998, I think.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So, you were on Dream Season with Greg Day. What was that? Dream Season? One. Yeah. The one with Odell and Reisner and Eric Boothen, Jason Irish. I'm trying to think who else was on that year.
Frank.
Yeah. And that was such an interesting, we've talked about it. Like, we've had JJ and Kyle on before. We've had Dave and John on before. Like, it's fun to kind of go back and think about some of the early days and hell. So by that point, you'd have been with us 4 or 5 years when we would have done the first Dream Season. I think it was 2004 is when it aired. looking back on that, what are some of the favorite like memories or stories that you have from the good old days
that we can talk about?
yeah. Well, it's a podcast.
That was an interesting time just in general, right? It was our foray into television, and I think we were building the plane as we were trying to fly it.
Yeah.
Right.
Still doing that.
And how to produce it. You look back at this team, this family, it truly is all those times, not so much when you're out there in the tree. We loved it, especially dream season, right? Because all those crews went out at the same time. And, even though it was a competition, right, it was just really cool to have us all together one time on those hunts. But it was all the fun times at night, and hanging out with all those guys that, really at that point in time, I just really kind of knew from TV or from, videos, what have you, and to be a part of it, but you think about the journey that not only the DOD family we have now, but look at how many have branched off and are still out there in the industry. It all started with Drury Outdoors, So I felt blessed just to be a part of the family and all those times together. It's rare when we actually do get together and hunt, because we're all spread out and kind of doing our own things in our own states. Those times when we were able to come together, a couple dream season hunts. And, I've been obviously living in southwestern Pennsylvania, I've reached out a lot into other states and hunted with other team members. So I cherish those times, just being a part of the family and getting to do that when we are able to get together.
Was that the year that, was it Odell and Reisner came into camp with a deer that they had just killed in Iowa or something, that in that first camp at John Williams? And
yeah. We rolled into Missouri and we had these big plans. We were going to do these hunts on public ground. And then last minute, I think it was Craig Olson found out, I don't think we're allowed to do that. And so we had to pivot real quick to private ground. Of course, Odell and Reisner, Dave climbed the tree and they shot like a 147-inch deer rolling right into camp. And we're like, really?
I forgot Craig and Deb were on that season as well. So you're right. What you're referring to is in Missouri, we weren't allowed to. So the plan was it was going to be a big public land hunt, and we were all
figure it out yourself.
Yeah. And we were all staying in the same camp together. We called it the Roost, I think, the Roost House, or Birdhouse, something like that. It was John Williams' place. It was old then. I'd seen better days at that point, but what we found out was you can't film in Missouri. You can't film on public ground for financial gain, commercial use, which it was a TV show. It was obviously commercial use. So I think we then teamed up with Kevin Smalls, KT Trophies Hunts or something like that. I forget what his business name was. Yeah, we kind of spread out into, John Williams ground. We kind of had a competition who gets to hunt where. Yeah. And, so we made the best of it. Weather was tough. And I killed a doe. That was the only deer we killed on that Missouri hunt. Think about this. A brand new TV show. We're trying to put our best effort into it. First big hunt, a lot of time, money, effort going into everybody coming into camp together. Killed one deer, a doe.
But mean streets.
But Dave and John had killed this buck the night before.
Did they film it
in Iowa? Yeah. Okay. It's an awesome hunt. I'll actually never forget the hunt because the deer was downwind, and so back then it was our first year was scent blocker, and so the big thing were the dream season. Well, I don't even think we had the dream season suit at that point. It was just their whole system, the carbon system back then, and. So this deer walks downwind of Dave, and if I remember right, there's these. It's like a pretty probably October day, like fall. The fall leaves were turning yellow leaves, and he shoots this deer, and he looks back on camera, and he pulls out his wind checker, and he starts puffing it, and it goes right to where the deer was, and he plugged the spots and all that stuff. Cool. And so they then come into camp the next day with this deer, like. Tough, look at me, tough guys. I'll never forget. There's a shot of John Frank getting out of his truck, and and he looked so pissed, which was typical of John Frank. You know, it's just, he was a character. John was our character.
Sure.
And it wasn't, he wasn't putting on, like, that was just his actual demeanor a lot of times. And anyways, it was a big stink whether or not this deer was even going to count towards, you know, the competition. And it was fun. It was just a fun times. And those early days of dream season, we've talked about it before, but those were some of the best times we've had in the company's history, because it was like Rick's saying, we had no idea what we were doing. We were trying to figure it out as we go. We had a general idea. Mark liked the show Survivor. You know, at the time that was brand new, and American Idol was brand new. So it was trying to, like, these reality shows, that was a brand new thing in the 03, 04 kind of time frame. And that was kind of what we modeled it off of. And there was a big stink because, you know, should hunting be a competition? And which that's followed us for 20 years now, you know. And I think people now, hell, you look at like the Quest Hunt Co's and all those types of things, and it's you know, that's like the hip thing to do now. You know, it's like, hey, I'm going to jump into this competition. So the
problem is, if you lose respect for the animal, if it just becomes a token in the larger game, that's a problem.
That was the concern from the public at the time. Like, or they do, this seems like you're hunting for the wrong reasons. And it really wasn't that, because in camp amongst the group, you guys it was all, maybe other than John Frank, it was pretty much a camaraderie. It was a competition.
Camaraderie. We even on that hunt, you know, I'm trying to remember. I think it was the Missouri hunt. We even made a decision late in that week. We just switched up partners. And actually, Greg Day filmed Odell miss a deer, and you know, we did that a couple times. You know, during the season, you know, we got together late that year in Alabama for our last hunt. But, you know, it really was for the most part camaraderie, you know, and fun, you know, but a heck of a lot of work. If you can imagine spending an entire season, you know, you're out there trying, all of us hunted multiple states, and you're laying down everything behind the scenes during the hunts. You know, you ended up with, and at that time, right, there were tape cameras, mountains of these tapes that we had to log, and, you know, then get into the studio, and, you know, all those teams sending it in and trying to sort that out into a show. Man, it was a lot of work, but a lot of fun.
There was something like, you know, 500 hours of footage, or, you know, and you get, basically there's 13 episodes that are, you know, when all the commercials and all the stuff you have to do, the business side of it's done. You might have, you know, 15 to 18 minutes of hunting, you know, because it's only a 23-minute show.
Right.
And it's a lot to go through. We'd burn out editors left and right in those, you know, the first decade of dream season. It was just, it was a monster. It really was a monster to try to produce and edit, and expensive. And, you know, but looking back, you know, then the dream season suit kind of formed out of that, I think, in year 2, and our partnership with Catch a Dream started there in year 2. It formed from Jason. They were from Wisconsin.
I thought it was Brian Thompson
and Jason Franzen was his partner. And they came up with the idea of going, and they hunted with a Catch a Dream child, and they set all this up on their own. And if they won, they were going to donate kind of their winnings to it. And that formed the entire Catch a Dream relationship with Drury Outdoors. So a lot has, as Dr. Marty Brunson from Catch a Dream always says, it's a ripple effect.
Yeah.
And it's crazy what comes out of, you know, and a simple idea to try to produce a reality TV show.
You know, that's how I actually ended up on, or Greg and I ended up on the first dream season. Is Brian and Jason were supposed to be on. And remember, Brian fell out of a tree in Montana. And I get a phone call from Mark and said, hey, want to be on dream season? Well, you got any more stupid questions?
I actually didn't remember that. I remembered Brian falling because his last name was Thompson, and he fell at Thompson Falls.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. Like Lou
Gehrig getting Lou Gehrig's disease. What are the odds?
That's crazy. It's
weird.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, I forgot though. That's why you guys got the call up.
Yeah.
A couple of PA boys joining the big leagues.
Yeah. I mean, who would have ever figured, right?
Did you guys what'd you end up killing that year?
We did kill a couple PA bucks. I killed that big old doe in Missouri. We partied there. The last hunt of the year, Craig and I both on the same night missed giant Alabama whitetails. I had just got in the tree, and Eric Booth and Booty was filming me, and literally I didn't even have anything up, and here comes, it was pushing 160 inches.
Oh boy.
Walked right in, and I had just put my coat on, and I drew back on a deer. My whole coat hung in front of the string, and I shot. It about knocked me out of the tree. But I was dumbfounded. This deer was 18 yards. I had him dead to rights, going to shoot the biggest deer of the show, and he ran out of my life. And that same night, Craig missed a buck pushing close to 150, because I think we thought, we were so burned out. Mm-hmm. By that, Greg and I got down there late due to a big snowstorm, and they had already done the one tree hanging competition, and we had to rush in and do that. And John Frank, he unhooked the straps and put them on backwards, so when we got up in the tree, they were all jacked up.
Great.
Screw us. Anyway, enough about John. But then we just thought, we're going to Alabama. We're just going to see a bunch of spikes. But it'll be fun. And sure enough, everybody saw big deer on that. I think it was Portland Landing.
Yep. Mossy Oaks Place
anymore, but it was amazing. And, but it was the end of a long road.
I remember your reaction vividly, because you had a dumbfounded look like, did that just happen? I can't believe that just happened. I had not missed it.
I don't know that I'd ever missed a deer, honestly, to that point, but I was just dumbfounded. I still am. I still can't watch that to this day.
I'm going to have to go back and look
PTSD
at it. So if you want to watch it, it's over on MOTV. So they have our Dream Season libraries over on MOTV right now. And it'd be Dream Season 1. And that'd be episode 13, 12 or 13 probably.
I think it was the last one.
Yeah. Brutal.
But hey, that's where the journey started.
That's crazy.
It's been a long road ever since.
That's right. Man, fun times. Other than that,
I think my first major exposure to Drury Outdoors was Bow Madness on Outdoor Channel.
Yeah,
and I loved watching Rick. Rick is so coherent in his hunts.
Unlike the rest of the guys.
Well, when I try to say something about what I'm doing or what's happening in the tree, I just feel like my brain is full of mud. But I learned so much. It just seems to have such a presence of mind. I so appreciated and continue to appreciate your state of mind, your clarity, and just how well you can think through what you're doing, and then portray that to other people. Because it's one thing to be able to do something, but to be able to explain it and help teach other people, that's just a totally different level. So I've always appreciated that about you. And that was part of my itchy trigger finger. That was part of my exposure to the Drury Outdoors brand. This is what we stand for.
Yeah.
You're not a doucher.
He's not. It's true. If anyone thought he was, he's not.
You don't say that.
I appreciate that tip. No, you know what it's like to try to, we're not filming hunts, right? We're telling stories, we're filming shows. And I think that's what set us apart from the beginning. And you see, even those that have broken off and gone their own ways, they've learned so much, I think, from the Drury Road, if you will, and on how you tell a story. And I think we're always trying to learn and teach, as we do that. And, I've had the challenge, Matt. We joke all the time, I'll pinch myself and humbled to be a part of this family for so long. But, coming out of Southwestern Pennsylvania, I'm not that guy that's sitting out there in the Midwest or, Texas or what have you, that's got that great home ground. So I've always had to travel, always had to coordinate and plan, for multiple state hunting and in partnering up to do that. So it takes a lot of preparation and a lot of help for sure, to be successful. And that's just the way of the world for me.
Do you do much hunting there in PA?
I have not hunted here in Pennsylvania for several years. I had a lease here when we were on Dream Season 1. I've actually ironically killed my biggest deer, in Pennsylvania. It was just right at 170 inches. The year before I really partnered up with Jury Outdoor.
Went that downhill since.
Yeah,
I'm on a roll here.
Camera in your hands. How many deer you don't kill? But no, it was actually a really good place. The two areas in Pennsylvania where biggest deer are coming out of around, the western side around Pittsburgh, those counties that surround Pittsburgh, and then same around Philadelphia on the east side. There's a lot of suburban hunting. Obviously there's big rural country in Pennsylvania, but a lot of hunters, a lot of rifle hunters. And, I just decided to put, my time and dollars into areas where, I think management has been better, like Ohio. It's been shotgun up until recent years forever in $1 state. So, being an hour and 20 minutes away, that the lease I had in PA, they kept selling pieces of it off, and it just got to be cost prohibitive and not really worth it. So if I found the right piece, I'm gonna run after something in PA again. But right now, I've leased ground in Iowa, in Ohio, and really try to invest in the Midwest as much as possible. I just love it out there, and I think the odds are better.
Sure.
This is not the question of the day, but it is a good question. Why don't most people say the word Pennsylvania?
Mm-hmm. PA sounds cooler.
Agreed.
I know. I don't say OH, right? So.
Heading to MO.
Right. What's wrong with you?
Let's go to IA.
How does your brain work, Yee?
No one knows.
No.
That's why 13 people listen.
All right. Let's jump into the question of the day. You ready for this, Rick?
Yeah, sure.
All right. The question today is proudly brought to you by Cold Steel, professional hunting knives for real hunters.
Hi, my name's Taylor Johnson, and I just want to know, Tim, how long does it take you to get into your cycling leotard? Thanks.
This must go by with the e-bike theme of the show. Somebody wants to know how long it takes Tim to get into his cycling leotard. If you follow Tim on Instagram, you know that he actually usually isn't even wearing a shirt for some reason all summer long.
It's hot. I sweat a lot.
Yeah, something. So
Taylor,
that really wasn't a good question.
Taylor doesn't sound smart. Just going to say that.
Do you know Taylor?
Taylor's one of our DeerCast writers.
But hey, at least he left a question of the day.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Taylor. No thanks for being a jackass.
Oh.
Boom. Just got burned.
So how do you get into that leotard?
Well,
one leg at a time.
This also, Land O'Lakes margarine is involved because you got to squeeze into those things.
Yeah. I wouldn't know, no, I wouldn't know.
You almost said too much.
Now let's dive into something more serious. The wildlife word.
Okay. The wildlife word is brought to you by the American Hunting Lease Association, your hunting access resource. Okay. So this is a multiple choice. What summertime phenomenon isn't usually seen when bucks don't make it past 2.5 years old? So when bucks are killed too early, you don't have a whole lot of mature bucks.
Is this a PA question?
It could be. What summertime phenomenon isn't usually seen? Is it A, you don't see fawns bedded during daylight hours? B, you don't see deer in bean fields at dusk? C, you don't get that nasty sweat on the backside of your knees when you're sitting too long with your shorts on? Or D, bachelor groups?
Okay. Rick, you get to go first because you're the guest. I'm stumped.
Fawns bedded during daylight.
If it's a Pennsylvania answer, you just really don't see any deer.
They're just not around.
But I'm guessing it's D there, guys.
Bachelor groups. Okay.
That's what I was thinking. Is D.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. Nice job, guys. Yeah, you win.
Nothing.
Whammy. Yeah, it's interesting that as deer mature, that's when they start to form those summertime bachelor groups that are only allowable because their testosterone levels are lower. But as the daylight hours shorten and those testosterone levels rise, obviously they tolerate each other's presence less and less and start to become more solo.
Yeah, man, this new piece that I've talked about a little bit before, but that Aaron Bennett and I picked up. We got some cell cameras out there, and there's a couple of bachelor groups running around, some big deer together, and it's like, oh, it's really all right. It's like, all right, we're getting close now.
You wish we had a September 1 opener to take advantage of that bachelor group, the predictability of their patterns, but they just dematerialize on September 14th. I've just never been able to. I almost
don't even hunt anymore early September, or from September 15th through the 30th, because they usually, for me, it seems like they disappear during that period.
They do.
Now, I'm pretty crappy hunter. I get it, but these guys that are, always killing them right out of the gates, like they really must have them patterned well. I mean, I feel like I have them patterned well, and then that pattern just blows out the window. And it usually, for me, it takes, into October to, a good cold front for them to materialize back onto a food plot, basically.
Sure.
So there it is.
Well, but if you hunted more on September 15th and on, you would have more of a chance.
I hear you, but that's what you do, and you never kill early either.
I didn't this past year, kind of on your advice, and my target buck was under my stand in front of a camera on September 15th.
We're going to bring up old stuff now.
I've totally forgotten about it. It's not a big deal.
Well, whatever.
You suck, Matt.
Don't listen to me. I would never listen to me when it comes to hunting advice.
That was your first mistake.
Yeah, it's really on you for being a dummy.
Well, this year I'm going to be in my stand at 6 o'clock in the morning on September 15th.
This year I am not again this year, unless it's like a major cold front comes through. There's no way I'm going to hunt on that day.
Yeah, it's going to depend on what the trail cameras are showing.
This year I got a Kansas tag, a early season muzzleloader Kansas tag, and I think the season's like September 18th through the 30th. So I picked that because it's like I never have any luck in Missouri that time frame anyways.
Well, make the most of it.
Might as well try something else. This will be the year that, like something shows up right in front of the stand. But I don't care. Whatever. This Kansas piece I'm going to, he's got some absolute giants. Not like nothing I've ever been able to hunt. So
the weird thing about that season is it seems so darn hot, and you're holding a gun and you're dressed in blaze. Like it's just like cognitive dissonance to be doing that. And
yeah, I'm a little worried because he sent me a message the other day. He's like, yeah, we may have to just leave your camera guy back in like a blind, and then you and I will spot and stalk. And I'm like, oh, with a gun. Perfect. Can't wait. Like, this seems like something I'm not equipped to do. Looking forward to getting out of the old comfort zone. I can't wait to see
the footage.
Yeah, should be stellar.
And I want to see you in blaze orange shorts.
Yeah, this sounds horrible.
Okay. Well, Rick, thanks for hopping on. It's a shame that we haven't had you on before. Like, I can't believe that.
This is a misstep on Tim's part.
What's that, Rick?
I said, I appreciate you guys having me on. It's been my debut.
Yeah, we'll have you on in another couple of years, and hopefully you're got a killer too by then, and be able to talk strategy in Ohio and PA.
No, let's talk something. Let's talk something west.
Hey, are you going out west at all this year? I know Texas.
I drew Iowa.
Oh, you did.
I drew Iowa, so definitely gonna spend some time out there for sure. So I too was really trying to put something together for Kansas, and just didn't come together. But was hoping that with the number of points I had, I'd draw Iowa, which I did. So looking forward to that.
I'm dying to know, how many points did you have?
Well, I drew it with this would have been my third. But remember, I'm up with Dave in East, Central Ohio. I've never drawn that any further south.
Iowa. Yeah. What zone is that?
8.
Okay. Because I tried 4. I had 4 points and got denied.
Next year is your year.
Oh, hopefully. I mean, they said this year, I think, is the reasoning was a lot of people from last year didn't go or didn't put in because of COVID, and they had a bunch of points too. So it made the draw odds even worse.
Sure.
So
for sure. So we'll be out there for sure, and I'll see you guys here in a few weeks.
Yeah, we got our big Drury Outdoors Digital Summit coming up at the end of August.
Digital in person.
Yes.
That's crazy.
So not everybody gets invited, just the cream of the crop like Rick here.
And it's virtual and it's in person.
Yeah. Cream of the what? Crap.
Well, that's a good
one. We should remind people that we've got the podcast with Dr. Grant Woods and Mark Drury coming up.
This is a house of learned doctors.
I think we all, like, if we're in the presence of Dr. Woods, I think we're all considered doctors at that point. That's
actually
how that works.
He makes me feel even more dumb than normal.
Dumber, I think, is the
I
term.
said even more dumb.
You're so correct. But we're going to be talking about the potential impact that neonics, which is in seed codes.
Nudnik?
No, not that.
You're a nudnik.
Thank you. But it's a seed coating. It's an insecticide that's built into seeds, and there's concern that maybe it's having an impact on wild turkey populations. So this is kind of the leading edge of this research and this concern. So we're going to kick it around a little bit.
And we posted it on DeerCast, an article that Dr. Grant Woods put in, and then we pushed that out to social, and I had pushed it over to my Facebook page, the Matt Drury page, and I had a guy got pretty mad at me about it. He was a farmer, and he's like, yeah, you guys need to look inside of hunting first. It's not farmers that are overkilling of turkeys during turkey season, and he kind of cited all the reasons that hunters have been talking about, like big bag limits and fur trading kind of going down, and predator nest predation, all those things. And it's like, yes, those are factors too, but this is pretty groundbreaking stuff and makes a lot of sense when you really think about it too. Mm-hmm. So I look forward to Dr. Grant Woods talking about it a little more in depth and diving into this, because it's a concern that any diehard turkey hunters, like, man, you look around and it just, you're not seeing the number of turkeys that you once did, and it seems like it's the last 5 to 10 years, and that's although these seeds have been around forever, really in the last decade, it's become a more readily acceptable practice that almost all farmers are using. So you certainly see the correlation of that increase going up with the population of turkeys going down. It's not just turkeys; it's other wildlife as well.
So really, people don't even need to listen because you just encapsulated it perfectly.
Probably just like what Dr. Grant Woods would have said.
Dr. Grant Woods.
That's right. Maybe I am a doctor.
This is a house of learned doctors.
Yeah. Rick's like, can I go now?
He ain't got anything to do. He's just sitting in a hotel room.
He's going to go hit the fitness center in a little bit here.
Or the bar.
Yeah.
Both.
And there we go.
Okay. Well, if you're not part of the 100% Wild podcast crew, make sure you head over to Facebook and hop in there and join in the
What
fun.
do you do? Just search the group search in the search toolbar for...
Yeah, go to the search toolbar, www.facebook.com, and type in 100% Wild podcast crew. We'll link it in the notes also. And answer the membership questions.
Basically, we're looking for people to get in there, make fun of Tim, give us questions of the day, and then make fun of Tim.
Well,
I can't believe you've never been on a podcast before.
Man, I can't wait to do this again. I am definitely bringing some pedos to the next one.
Now, I'll say this. If you get invited to someone else's podcast, it's not probably quite like this.
No, yeah, they'll do a real show.
Don't come with your own fart sounds.
I would have expected nothing different.
You know what it was? I got too comfortable. I started getting fancy.
All right, we've gotten fancy enough. We probably ought to shut this thing down. What do you say?
I think so. We've said it all here today.
Till next time.
I think so. See you guys.
See you, Rick.
See ya.
All right.
Care.
Peace out.
DeerCast is giving you the chance to hunt with Mark and Terry Drury. Head over to DeerCast.com to enter.
We're adding new videos every week, so make sure to click that subscribe button and check out all of our amazing content. This episode of DoD TV was brought to you by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's.